Hello and welcome back to another video where we are playing Foundation in the village of Bosco Verde. I thought I'd start this video back where we started it all. This was our very first market that we established in Bosco Verde. This is the centre of our village where everyone arrives to when they enter it. And I've got a few different plans for this episode. We are looking in a pretty good position compared to how we've been. If I take a look at some of our vitals, our money is looking in a pretty good position, our happiness is looking in a pretty good position. So we're no longer having to do damage control, which is how we've spent most of our last few episodes. There's a few more little tweaks I think I can do to things to make our city even more efficient. And that actually involves deleting a few things, so we're going to get a bit trigger happy with the delete button today. And I'm actually going to start this deleting spree over by our monastery, so let's zoom over there. And step number one is going to be actually to delete our vegetable gardens that we have over here. We have two of them. They're all painted out quite far. They're not necessarily growing loads of vegetables. They each use up 3 farmers, which honestly I would prefer that those farmers were working here in the herb garden or somewhere else, because we can sell the herbs for a lot more than we can sell vegetables. Vegetables are a rustic food along with berries and fish, and we're doing just fine for berries and fish, so we don't really need to be putting any resources into making vegetables. Whereas we are selling our herbs, so I think having those extra resources going into growing the herbs could be more beneficial. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this building, and immediately I'm going to destroy it. There we go, goodbye vegetable building. And we've got one more here, so I'm also going to come and destroy this one. And there we go, that's all done. And those workers should be reallocated to other places within the monastery. As far as I'm aware, you can't control where they work in the monastery. Whenever I delete people, they just sort of seem to get placed in somewhere there's space. So we could see if any of them have come over to the herb garden. Yeah, it looks like we've got maybe an extra 3 employees over here. Not sure where the others are, but I'm sure they're having a nice time. So that will mean we are not producing any more vegetables, but we're not using it to make any food, and we're not selling it for a lot of money, and we're not using it to consume ourselves. So I think that's all going to be just fine. So now those are deleted, we should start producing herbs slightly quicker. And the second thing I'd like to delete this episode to make way for something new is actually going to be these hop farms. And I'm a bit more sad about that just because I really do like how these hop farms look, to be honest. Like, I think aesthetically is where they're providing the most benefit right now, but I have no one working in them, I have no one producing hops, and similar to the logic I used for getting rid of the vegetable gardens, we just don't really need hops. At the moment all we're doing is, when we have people employed here, we're just selling the hops straight up, but they're not sold for a lot of money, and I found turning them into beer pretty difficult because the brewers normally want to be citizens to be efficient, and every citizen always leaves my town. So hopefully that will change in the future. We also don't need to consume any of the beer because we are making plenty of berry brew for all of our people. So yeah, the justification for having hops and breweries is really null. I already got rid of the breweries a while ago. And instead, I think what I would like to do is build just a couple more wheat fields over this side of the map. As you can see, we've got 100 wheat. We do regularly import wheat and bread. I think we could stand to increase our production of bread a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these and build in some wheat fields instead. So let's go ahead and destroy these buildings. It won't, of course, destroy the fence that I've built around them, which I'll probably try and keep in place and paint the wheat fields within that fence, just because I quite like the look of it. We could always expand the fence out a bit, sort of around here if we needed to. But let's go ahead and paint our wheat farm. Down in food production, we've got a wheat farm just here, so I'll go ahead and build it. And I'm probably going to go ahead and build it with the optional extras here as well, so we can have a few more workers. There we go, going to go ahead and build those items now. And so our farm buildings have been built out, and that means we need 7 workers to come and work in there. And that kind of leads me on to the third thing I wanted to delete this episode. And that is actually our tailors, so the people who are producing our common clothes. And my reasoning behind this is we seem to be finding it much easier to make common wares than common clothes. We do have some wool fields and some cloth makers, and I'm happy to keep those there because we do need a bit of cloth for building every now and again. But the tailors kind of employ quite a few people. In fact, we can come and check how many people they employ over on our buildings tab. Yes, we have 1, 2, 3 tailors' workshops, and they're all fully employed with 3 people each. And I just don't think we need common clothes. We do have not a goods shortage, but people do still need goods. But I think we should be putting more of those resources into creating common wares, which we find it a bit easier to do. And so I am going to go ahead and sadly delete these 3 tailors' workshops that we do own. So we've got one over here which I can delete. And we've also got 2 more over in this part of the town. One here, which I can delete. And then a 3rd and final one here, which I can destroy as well. Like I said at the beginning, we are really getting pretty trigger happy with destroying buildings this episode. And then I just want to make sure I go around all the markets. Obviously we want to sell any of the common clothes that we kind of like have in stock currently. So there's still 25 common clothes here. So I'm going to let those all be distributed to the people. And then I'm going to reallocate all of our market stalls that sell goods to just be selling common wares. So now we've got 10 people waiting to be employed, and I'm going to come and employ 7 of them over on this wheat farm. And then I can go ahead and paint the crop field. There we go, that is now adequately sized, so I will stop building there. And it looks like we probably have room for one more little wheat farm to be built in here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'll build maybe one little tooling shack with that one to begin with. There we go, I can go ahead and build those. And this wheat farm has nearly been built out, so I'm going to go ahead and try and edit this fence to see if I can expand this field out a little bit. And I'm happy with how that's looking, so I'll go ahead and apply those changes. And looks like we are now ready to accept 5 farmers in here. I have 3 to hand, and I can welcome in a couple more here, so I'll go ahead and do that. And come and paint this crop field. And that was perfectly adequately sized for the number of people we had, so that's gone well for us. So I'm seeing a few little pop-ups saying no access to goods. We just look like we have a goods shortage of 1% at the moment, and I can see that we are perhaps running a bit low, so I think I'm going to go ahead and try and build just a few more common wares makers and see if we can try and solve that problem. I've got room for one over here, so I'll go ahead and build this one just by this belfry. Happy with that. And there should be space for people to live nearby as well. Looks like there are a few spaces in some of these houses. Or they could build a new one there. And our milk supplies are really stocking up, so I am aiming to try and promote more and more cheese makers to commoners as we go along, so that we're turning that milk that we have into cheese more efficiently. And it looks like we're ready to improve this Northbury trade route, which is good because they do buy a lot of the things we're selling, including herbs, gold, meat and polished stone. It will cost us 350 bread to improve that trade route, but I think it's going to be worth it. So I will go ahead and do that. And the last thing I'm getting a bit trigger happy with is these gathering huts, which are collecting berries, just because they all use 3 workers, which is quite a lot really, and we've got people employed picking berries at our monastery anyway, so I don't really think they're that necessary, so I'm going to go ahead and destroy this forager's hut. And I'm building one common wares workshop over near this stall where we're often out of goods, but I think we probably are also going to want a second one. So once this one's up and running, I will go ahead and build another one. just to try and keep our stocks of common wares nice and high. In fact, maybe we should be importing some in the meantime, although I think they are probably pretty expensive. Yeah, let's have a go at buying some. Maybe up to 300. It might just tank our, well, non-existent reserves, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. Here we go, and our new common wares workshop has been built, so let's go ahead and get a couple of workers in there. And now that that one is built, I will go ahead and make another one somewhere nearby. It does need to be somewhere where it has light fortification, I think, so keep an eye out for that. Looks like here could be a good spot, so let's go ahead and build this one just on the edge of this field. Oh, and I'm building the candle workshop. That's not what I want. I want to build the common wares workshop. There we go. Happy with that. So as soon as we've got enough money in the bank, I'll go ahead and hit build. And we've got enough coins, so we'll go ahead and build this common wares workshop. We've really got so much milk. I want to be turning this into cheese a little bit more efficiently, to be honest. So I think I might need to go and promote some more people to commoners. The only thing that's stopping me is that all the commoners are suffering from a bit of a goods shortage at the moment, so I feel like I sort of need to solve the goods problem before I go ahead and promote more people. The other thing it looks like we're going to be able to delete a few of is weavers' huts, because we're now making just cloth from our wool, and originally we needed more weavers because some of the cloth was being turned into common clothes, but that's not necessary. Now we're not making common clothes anymore, so I can probably go and delete a few weavers' huts, get a few of those people back, and they can come and work in our other more profitable industries. So let's go ahead and look at the buildings tab and find our weavers' huts. There's actually only 2 of them. Oh no, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of them. One of them is missing raw materials, so that feels like an obvious place to start if we're going to delete one. We can employ a little transporter here just to go and collect up all the cloth that we do have, and then I can go ahead and delete some of them. I think we're also going to need some goods being made somewhere near this market, because they are also often running short of common wares. Luckily we've got a whole area in here that is covered by light fortification, so we should be able to go ahead and build a common wares workshop somewhere in there. Perhaps down in this little corner here. Does seem to be slightly blocking that gate, but hopefully they can still route round and get in and out. Okay, and I can go ahead and destroy this weaver's hut now that it's empty of resources, so I'm going to do that as well, just while we're waiting to accrue enough money to build this common wares workshop. And thanks to completing a quest, we've got a bit of extra money, so I can go ahead and build this now. This weaver's also doesn't have any cloth in store at the moment, so I'm also going to go ahead and destroy this building. And it looks like this market is also struggling to get common wares, so I'm going to see if I can squeeze in a common wares workshop somewhere up here as well. It does need light fortification, so it is going to need to try and squeeze into one of these light fortification areas. In fact, here might be a good spot. Yeah, I think that's the best one, so let's go for this. And once again, just wait to accrue enough money. And here we go, now I can go ahead and build that. And our common wares workshop over here has been built out, so let's go ahead and put a couple of our unemployed citizens in there. Actually looks like it's still just finishing being built out, but perhaps they'll be able to start making the common wares before it's totally finished. Apparently rustic food is the latest shortage that we're suffering a bit from. Not entirely sure why that is. I think our fish just tends to go up and down a fair amount, but looking around the various market stalls, most of them do seem to have some fish, so hopefully that's only temporary. And we have had another common wares workshop nearly built out, so we can go ahead and assign 2 common wares makers to that workshop as well. And our other common wares maker is also ready for a couple of employees, so we can put 2 people in there. And I want to immediately promote them to commoners so they hopefully work a little bit more efficiently. And it looks like we're getting a little bit low on planks, which might be causing a bit of a bottleneck, so let's make sure our sawmills are all fully employed with people. Okay, so I shall leave this episode here, looking over one of the brand new common wares workshops we have just built. We're still in the process of ramping up our common wares production, so hopefully we'll see a bit more of that next episode. But until then, I really hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.